Welcome back to the Journeys in Business series. I'm Jess, owner of Jess Creatives, and in this series, I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to hear about their journeys in business and lessons they have learned. Hey, Havilland, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me this morning, this dreary morning.
So to kick us off, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
My name is Havilland Maxwell. I'm from freelancewithoutfear.com, and I help creatives stop spinning their wheels and get out of their own way if they want to start a freelancing business. And I'm also a voice actor and an on-camera talent. So I've been a voice actor for about 10 years now. So I'm a freelancer and I get the whole gig. I get all of it. So that's why I kind of created the program.
That is so cool. So
yeah.
Did you just kind of like fall into voice acting? Or?
I did. I was doing corporate work and I was working in human resources actually. And I was answered the phone one day and the phone guy was kind of trying to find a new voice for the greeting. And so he called me and I said, I thought he was joking. So I was kind of being sad. I was like, thank you for calling. And so then he hung up and he called somebody else. And then he called me right back. And he said, okay, you're going to do it. You're going to be the voice for the phone system and come record it on your lunch break. And so I'm like, wow, what is this? What is this world?
What?
And he said, oh, I'm going to pay you $100. What? Okay, I love this world. What is this?
Sweet. Why don't you just sit here and talk?
Yeah, pretty much. And so it was like old school. I had to hold the phone. And it was like, don't mess up, because if you do, you got to, hit pound and start all over. It was really, really old school and basic. But that was my introduction to the world of voiceover, which is really fun.
That is so fun. Yeah. What's like the coolest voiceover thing that you've done?
Ooh, I played like a villain, a little villain, which was funny. It's so outside my character. So I played a villain for a credit card training video. Yeah, I was like Captain whatever. And so I was like fighting, I don't know, like interest rates or something. I don't know.
You're fighting. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm fighting right now. But
yeah, but it was cool. It was like my first kind of thing where I wasn't regular business lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to listen to your voice and I cannot picture it being a villain.
No, but that's what was fun about it, because that's so opposite of what I do. I do a lot of training videos and business stuff and business narrations and corporate narrations. So that was outside of my kind of comfort zone, which was cool.
That's so interesting. I love that. Yeah. Like, and do you do it all at home?
I do it from home. Unless a client requests that they, see me in a studio or want to talk to me in a studio to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I might make a couple trips to a studio here in town, but otherwise I do it from home, which is great.
That's so fun. And then you created this Freelance Without Fear. So when did that start?
I just created this, it's been maybe about 6 months now. And I have a lot of freelancing friends. I mean, I have friends that are writers and I have friends that are videographers and photographers. And we all get together and we complain about the same stuff. So
yeah, we all complain about the same stuff.
I mean, my client hasn't paid me. What do I charge? How do I get more clients? I hate networking. What should I do? That kind of thing. And so I had a writer friend simply turn to me and say, you should kind of put this into a program, because I would buy it, And then I had a woman I met in networking and she said, you should turn all the information that you know into a book. And so I did that. I didn't even know how to write a book. And she kind of coached me for free. I love this lady, for free. And I wrote a book called In Real Life, I'm a Creative Badass. And it's an encouraging love letter to freelancers that are out there doing their thing. And so from that, I kind of turned that information into a course.
Oh my gosh.
That's all so from cool. Just conversations from people like, hey, you should kind of do this.
Yeah. And I think it's cool that, it's called Freelance Without Fear. And I think for a lot of people, like creating a course or especially writing a book would be scary. And you were like, I'm doing it. Like, I didn't even know how to write a book, but
I didn't. I'm going to do it. And I think sometimes we get so caught up, and I have a voiceover mentor that calls it the grit girl syndrome, getting ready to get ready. So, I feel like we waste a lot of time kind of like, I'm researching, I'm going to do all this stuff, I'm going to get it. And then it takes you 2 years when you could have done it already. Yeah. Where you could have just set the business up, or you could have wrote the book, or you could have started whatever you want to do, So I didn't want to do that. And I wanted to kind of get the information out there, because I know when I started freelancing, I struggled. I struggled with, what am I supposed to be doing with my days? You know, how do I meet people? How do I talk to people? How do I get clients? I had no clue. So I was spending hours online and then hours talking to people to try to narrow things down. And I didn't want people to have to do that. So if I could remove some of that, I don't know what I'm doing kind of thing, then here it is. Now get started. And don't say you don't know what to do now. You know,
you have no more excuses.
You got a plan. Do it now. Yeah, do it now. And I think the way that the world is going, there's a lot more freelancers popping up. There's a lot more people kind of taking control of their own destinies and doing their own things. So I think it's a great time. So explore it. If you're ready, do it now.
Do it now. I'm definitely in the do it now camp. I launched this podcast within 2 weeks of getting the idea. Granted, I didn't do like a huge launch like I maybe should have, but I was just like, no, like execution over perfection.
That's
like
absolutely the case. Like if you wait for it to be perfect, you'll never do it. So it's like when you have that idea, you have to move like lightning and get it done. So that's perfect. Absolutely.
Because if I had like thought about it, I would have come up with excuses of like, I don't have time. Well, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I shouldn't do this, or you know, like, oh, like I think I would have let all the fear and the what ifs start to creep in. Like I hadn't even been on a podcast. Like that's I had never even been on a podcast, which people are like, what? I'm like, yeah,
I don't do it.
I hadn't been on a podcast, but I was like, I'm just going to do my own. And I figured it out and set it up and was like, okay, let's go. And like didn't have, you know, the perfect podcasting mic that all the podcasters have until like 2 months ago.
That's right. You start where you are. And that's the thing I think a lot of freelancers don't do. They're afraid. So they don't start where they are. And I did that too. I was trying to buy the biggest and baddest microphone out there. I was trying to buy all this stuff. And I didn't listen to my mentor. My mentor kept sending me a link like, no, just get this one. No, just get this one. It's $100. Just get this one. It's $200. And I was like, no, I need the $500, you know, just start where you are. Start where you are with what you have, because you have more than you think you do. Yeah, absolutely. So that's perfect. No, I'm good. It's good. Congratulations.
And I also, my YouTube channel, talk about starting with what you have. Like my YouTube channel started with an iPhone and I put it on a selfie stick and then put that inside of a tripod. And like, that's how
you rigged it. You rigged it and you made it happen.
Yeah. And then slowly upgraded, because especially when it comes to video, you don't have to have the fancy equipment. Yeah. Like, they're more concerned about the content.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just like, just start with an iPhone. And I, you know, like I have so many friends who are like, I want to start doing video. And I'm like, use your iPhone, use your computer camera. Like,
that's it.
Just do it. Like,
just do it. And when you get better, you'll advance. And when you have more money, you'll get the equipment that you need. But you're right. It's just taking that first step. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid to do. They don't want to just take that step. Yeah. And then there's so much of a fear of people like looking at me and judging me and talking about me. And you kind of just have to let that go and do your thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
and when
I love it.
When I started with an iPhone, part of why I didn't want to get a camera, I was like, I kind of just want to see if I like this.
You want to test it out a little bit?
I was like, I just want to see if I want to keep doing this. I want to see if it was good enough. Like that was I'd had so many people be like, you can just start with an iPhone. It's not a big deal. But I was like, I kind of want to see if I want to do this, if I like video, if I see any ROI. And I did from those iPhone videos. They got, you know, I'm like, I got a client from an iPhone video.
So nuts. Isn't that nuts?
Like if I'd waited until I could afford this fancy camera, until I was perfect on camera, which I'm still not. So, you know, almost a year later would have still not have started.
You wouldn't have started. And then you wouldn't have gotten that client. And then, like, look, how did I meet you on Instagram? Right. Yeah. So like you wouldn't have had, you know, a following. You wouldn't have any of that if you wouldn't have just gone ahead and done it.
Yep.
I mean, that's great. That's great. There's a lesson there. Sure, there's a lesson there.
So what is your favorite part about what you get to do?
Freedom.
Yes.
I think freedom is the biggest thing. It took me a long time to realize that I don't do well sitting in a cubicle and, you know, where you're doing the same thing. You got a conference call Wednesday, you got this meeting on Thursday, you got, you know, this person micromanaging you, all that kind of stuff. it took a long time for me to get that. And when the light bulb finally came on, I was like, oh, I don't do well in this kind of environment. So
Yep.
I have to be able to kind of run my own deal. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think freedom is the biggest thing. I cannot
Yeah.
tell you how I love that. And I would not be able to go back. I wouldn't be able to
No,
go
me
back.
either. I'm with you. I am with you. Like, I could not. I would do so many things before.
Yeah, you talk about hustling, I would be doing something because I just can't. Once you have a taste of that freedom,
Yep.
if it works for you, and
If
that's
it
not
works for
to,
yes.
and that's not to bag on people who are doing, that's not my, mission. I don't want to bag on people that are doing their corporate jobs and they love it. If you love your gig, then kudos to you and that's wonderful for you. But if you don't, then yeah, there is something there. And I struggled with it for a long time because I was trying to fit into a box that other people had for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just the life, you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, and you stay at the job for 30 years, which doesn't really exist anymore anyway.
No.
So it took me a long time to say, what do I do well? And
Mm-hmm.
how do I work? And I like to work at night. Like I'm a night owl. So I like to work at night, and that's a different thing. I'm not one for
doesn't really work
I'm not
for
one for
8 to
7
5.
o'clock in the morning. Right. I'm not one for that commute. I was driving 30, 40 minutes every day to work.
Me too.
So I don't miss that. That's not my deal. And I'm happy that I was able to come out of that and that I could recognize it. Because like you, I would have wasted, I don't know how many more years sitting there doing this whole corporate thing that I hated. So freedom number one.
Freedom.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that might be the favorite thing for every freelancer.
Absolutely. You can kind of call the shots and it can be scary, but it's also a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is your big why? What drives you?
What we were talking about a little bit, I meet so many people that are afraid. And I found myself having so many pep talks with people that I knew, that were working and they were miserable in their jobs. And I would say, why don't you just start something on the side? You don't have to just go full out. I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm out of here, but why aren't you starting? Well, I don't know what to do. And financially it was a big deal for a lot of people too. How do you leave the comfort of you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks guaranteed to this unknown world where, you get a check once every 30 days or 60, or I have a client that pays at 90, God forbid. So, how do you leave that? But I had so many people that were afraid. And I think that really motivates me. I don't want people to live in a life where they're just afraid and they're scared to kind of step out and do their own thing. I think we all have wonderful talents and gifts, but you can't be afraid to use them. And so that's something that really drives me. I can't stand it. It gets on my nerves because I see so many talented people like, what? And you just want to shake them. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's out there.
Yeah. And life is too short to do these things that drive you crazy when you're miserable. I was there, I was miserable, and it was just like, I cannot do this. My husband and I talk about all the time of life is short, and he works, he has a day job, but he is in love with it.
Okay,
and so
that's a different thing.
We both we're so lucky that both of us are completely following our passions. It's not even this is what I want to do, even if this isn't ideal job placement right now, at least. No, he's this was my dream job, and so I'm staying here forever.
And that's great. And that he knows that he pays attention to himself enough to understand that. That's so wonderful that you guys are both kind of doing it. But that's the thing, there's so many people that are stuck, and they're not ready to do it. I think I was one of those people. So another, kind of driving force for me is that I can't, like we just talked about, I can't go back to that life. And I was really introverted as a kid. And it's kind of funny because I'm still a little introverted, but I have kind of an extroverted kind of career. So you kind of got to show up and you got to turn it on. You got to do your thing. But I wanted to be on camera. I didn't tell anybody that, but I wanted to be on camera, and I wanted to, do hand modeling. And now I've been able to do that. I wanted to do voiceover when I learned what it was, but I put it off for a long time before I really started to dig into it. So I'm kind of that same person that I would have been talking to back in the day. I'm making up for lost time, basically. So there were so many things that I wanted to do, but I was afraid and I didn't want to tell anybody. For instance, I love infomercials. I'm an infomercial nerd. I don't know why I watch them. I have no idea why I love them. And I loved them when I was a kid. And I recently got a job for a beauty product infomercial. And I was like, this is, you know, what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But had I not gone down this path, I wouldn't have had the opportunity, you know? So that's, I think, other people, and then just kind of like, I'm making up for lost time.
Yeah, that's one of the sweetest like feelings whenever you get that ultimate like project or client. Like, yeah, like all these other voiceover projects are cool and it's still good and I love what I do, but it's like when you get that one client or project that you've like always dreamed of, you're like, yes.
And it's like, yes, it's, you know, all this stuff that I've been working on, you know, I've validated, you know, kind of like, oh gosh, I was able to finally do this. And it didn't happen overnight. That's the other thing. I think people think it's going to happen overnight. It didn't, you know, this was years of work, you know, going into this. Like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years and I finally got the opportunity last year to kind of do that. So it doesn't happen overnight, but I do feel like it can happen. So, you know, I always want to encourage, I call myself a creative encourager. I always want to encourage people like, hey, you got it. You got the skills already. Just figure out what to do to take yourself to the next level. That's what it is.
Yeah. And talking about like building up those projects over the years, and it takes time. Like I remember one of my first design projects was like designing the side of, it wasn't like a semi truck, but it was like a condensed version of a semi truck. Like it was really short, like a moving truck almost.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest project. I did not enjoy it. I was like, I do not want to do this. Like, is this, and it was I had just recently moved to the area, so I didn't have a lot of connections. And this was one of my very, very first clients and didn't have a lot happening. And I mean, he was around for 6 or 8 months and I just kept doing, and it wasn't just sides of the truck, but I did other things. But all of those projects, I was like, yeah, I don't know if like this is all I can get for freelance. I don't know if
this is what you want to do. Yeah.
But then I started doing personal projects and like connecting with others and finally started building. And now fast forward and I'm getting those like, yes,
the
like,
jobs that you really wanted to do.
And so sometimes I'm like, I just have to remind myself, like, just think about where you were like 5 years ago.
You do. And it's great to do that every now and then to say, hey, what were you doing when you started? Just like you said, I was doing trucks design. So, you know, but everything builds. And that's the thing. Like you do that, but what did you learn from that?
Yes.
Then you take that to the next thing and you learn something from that and then you keep going. So all the skills you have now, you know, that's a part of that story. You know, the design that you did on that, even if you hated it.
And that would be
led
one
you to
of
where
those
you
things.
are.
Like, I mean, if I was struggling and it was like, I need to either design the side of trucks or go back to cubicle, I'd be like, come on, truckers.
I'm gonna
like,
design
let's
another
get
I need another one. Where are you?
Like, oh my gosh. Like,
I get
and
it.
I still, sometimes when I see that, whatever the truck is called, because it's not a semi, but whatever it is, whenever I occasionally see one, I always think about it. And I'm always like, I remember
I did
design something like that. Like, it's not fun. I'm like, props to you.
It's a great way to look back and you can just kind of say, hey, look where I was. And I'm proud of myself for kind of keep going. Because you could have quit right then.
I could
have quit. And so it's great that, you know, I kept going and I persevered. And this is, you know, what I have to show for it now. But we all start somewhere, man. I had one line on my first commercial, just one line. And you could have swore that it was Oscar worthy because I called everybody like, hey, I'm on the radio. And I had like one little line. And I was like, this is where, you know, but that's, you know, see right now. But that was where I started. And that's exciting because I will never forget that. And I'll never forget the first check that I got for doing voiceover work. I actually had the people at the bank like make a copy of it so I could frame it.
I love that though, because you have to celebrate this every little victory.
You really do. And the guy was looking at me like, really? And I said, no, you don't understand. This is my first gig. And so he just gave it to me and said, you know, get out of here. Okay, great. But I have that. So I know, like, this was my first check. I got $150 for it. I was so excited. But now I can look back and say, you know, hey, look where I've come from.
Yeah.
You know, that's important to do too. Yeah.
So if you were sitting down with yourself from that first week, that first month of working for yourself, and you were going to tell yourself something to, you know, prepare for this road ahead, what would you tell yourself?
I would have said what I told you earlier. Number one, listen to your mentor if you have one.
Mm.
If they've been where you've been, they're there for a reason. And, and I had a mentor that had been in the game for 20 years, so I'm sitting here trying to fight him like, oh, I need the biggest invest, everything, la, la, la. And he's like, no. And he just kept sending me the same link over and over. This is all you need. I would have listened because I wasted a lot of money in the very beginning. Sometimes you don't need a lot of money, especially when you're freelancing. You can start with the small things that you have, like we talked about. Start with what you have and then grow. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I would have learned the value of networking. I hated networking with a passion because I felt like it was just a bunch of people schmoozing and don't call me and I'll call you. I hated that. That's the kind of perception I had behind it. But when I learned the value of that, and also learning where to go, I was going to the wrong places, which is why I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted. I wasn't around people that could hire talent like me. I wasn't around creative folks, so I was around corporate type people that weren't, it didn't make any sense. You're with somebody that's selling insurance, that's not helping you. And then it makes you hate it. So I had to kind of rewire myself and say, okay, what is this? How do I do well with networking? How do I make the right contacts? So I would have learned the value of it and done it more often. And then I would have had a plan. Like I had zero plan drafted. I just said, I'm starting. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know how I wanted to grow my business. I didn't have any goals kind of outlined for myself. So I would have created a very specific, at least goals. Maybe it's hard to do a plan as the freelancer when you're starting out, but at least have very specific goals for where you'd like to be in the next 6 months to a year. Start there and then kind of build from there. So those are the things that I would have done a little bit different.
How did you connect with your mentor, or how did you find him?
I actually have 2 mentors in voiceover, but I was interning with him. I got an internship. So I did probably 6 months to 6 months working for free. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to say, they want to get paid. I'm trying to get paid. I don't want to work for free, but I worked for free. I was answering phones. I was doing whatever he wanted at the time. He had this huge gallery of CDs and he just throw them everywhere, or stock music. He just throw them. I had to clean all that up. I'd be in there just like, oh, okay, but I learned, and then I graduated and he would keep saying to me, is this what you want to do? Is this what you want to do? Yes. So I'd do everything that they needed me to do. I'd package things, whatever I could do. And then finally he gave me an opportunity to do a spot. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is, but I had to pay my dues. I had to pay my dues a little bit and kind of do the thing. So I had him. And then the other guy that I had as a mentor was a guy that he outsourced work to, who had also been doing voiceover for a very long time. So I kept in contact with him. That's the other thing. I think as freelancers, we don't understand the value of contacts and keeping contact with people and not just kind of saying, hey, it's nice to meet you. And then they never talk to you again. Or like, oh, I forgot about you. And then I see you out like, oh, then you feel bad because you haven't maintained that relationship. Stay on people's radar and maintain a relationship. I talk to at least one of them every other month or so, whether it's an email, whether it's a quick phone call. Hey, how are you doing? What have you? So I can stay top of mind, because that particular one of those mentors also hires me for voice work. So,
there you go.
It's great to keep that relationship going. And it started from an unpaid internship.
Yeah.
So you have to keep those relations. They're valuable. They're valuable to you and your business, and also just referrals. People understand the value of that.
Oh my gosh.
Referrals. Stay in touch. That might be somebody that says, I don't have any work for you this month, but I know who does. Yeah. Hey, why don't you call this person? I think that's another thing. We kind of sleep on the value of those relationships, of cultivating great relationships, really. Yeah.
And some of my early referrals were actually people from my day job, because some of my first freelance clients were people, not so much that I was working with, but that like I met kind of somehow through my day job. I don't know, but then just keeping in touch with them. And then even like when I bounced around to a few different day jobs, I didn't like burn those bridges.
Right.
And the first, one of the first jobs I had, my friend there eventually moved on somewhere else and then hired me from there. And it was just because I didn't burn that bridge, and was like, and he, like, he's like, I know you're an awesome designer, and like, I'm so excited for your next job. Like, let's keep in touch. Me thinking like, I'm never going to hear from him again. It's, whatever. Like,
because when you leave positions, you don't expect to like keep relationships
No.
up, and it's like you see each other once, maybe after you start, and then you just kind of, the phone calls stop coming and the emails stop coming. But that's important that you kept those relationships up, and you said you didn't burn bridges. That's so important.
That's something that I always try and tell people who are still at their day jobs. I'm like, don't underestimate, like, maybe your boss might not hire you, but like your coworkers.
That's probably not really likely, but
your coworkers or, other people in the building, whatever, like, just, it doesn't have to be salesy or sleazy. Just like keep in touch.
This is what I'm working on. Hey, how have you been? I mean, people underestimate the value of just going to get coffee with somebody. 20 minutes with somebody. Hey, what are you working on? What are you doing? Like, how have you been? And then the topic comes up. It always comes up.
It does. It always comes
up. And so I agree. Just stay in touch with people. And I didn't really do that. That's one thing that I didn't do that I wished I would have. When I started out. I didn't burn bridges, but I was so happy to be away from the corporate gig. And I was so happy to leave the company. I was kind of like,
peace.
I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm so excited. I don't have to ever go there. That's something that I wish that I would have done, because there could have been people there that knew someone who knew someone.
Yeah. So I think you kind of touched on this, but if you were starting your business over tomorrow, what would you do differently?
Oh gosh. You know what? I think that I would have focused more on mindset too. I wasn't in the right mindset. I was in a mindset of desperation when I left my corporate job, and I just have to figure this out and make it happen and make some money now. Okay. So I spent zero time worrying about mindset. And I think that is something that I'm thankful that I know now. But if you don't work on your mindset, you might as well forget it. Because it's not going to be easy to do. You'll have so many doors closed, and you'll have so much doubt that creeps in because you're by yourself, and you'll have these moments where you think you can't do it and you don't know what you're doing. And then that leads to for me, it leads to me not doing anything. I just shut down and I'm in a corner, cut it up with a blanket. Like, I'm not doing anything today, So I wish that someone would have, or I just would have known, focus on your mindset. Like right now, I devour positivity and I devour mindset stuff, and I do the whole practice of positive self-talk. People think it's all woo-ish or whatever, but I really think it's important, because when you have those moments, then you'll have something to kind of draw from. You've made all these kind of deposits in this positivity bank, and you can withdraw from that when you're having those days where you feel like you suck, where you feel like you don't sound good, or I have moments where I'm I feel like I don't sound like I should, or whatever. I feel like I'm not doing what I could. So I think that is huge. I would have started with that first off and foremost. And then the other thing is, I would have learned to respect the gifts that I have and stop comparing to other people.
Yes.
I will hear certain women that I know that voice things, and I'll say, oh gosh, man, I wish my voice sounded like that. Or I wish, I could get it to do that, but I had to learn. My clients love me for how I sound. They love me for my delivery. They love me for the way that I handle business. So cut it out. You have your own ability. You're going to design things the way that no other person would, because it's coming from a different place than anybody else. I'm going to voice something because that's the way that I have. That's the way my voice sounds, and how I've learned how to use it. So I think stop comparing is huge, and work on your mindset. Yeah, absolutely.
I know comparison is so hard for so many freelancers,
it's especially in this day and age.
With social media and the highlight reel.
Yes.
It's hard. But like you said, like, I will design something completely different than the next designer just because of our ideas, our creativity,
your experiences, your gift.
And there are so many clients out there that, like, you would want your website to look one way, and so you're going to either go with this designer or that designer.
Right.
Like, it's it's not that, like, it's not like better or worse. It's like whose style is who's
it's just
better
you
fit.
Are that's it. And you can't take things personally.
No.
And one of the things that I learned early on, because I audition a lot. So it doesn't mean I'm just out here booking gigs like, oh, I'm just booking everything I want. Yeah. No, I audition for a lot of stuff too. I mean, I have my own client base that comes to me, but I still audition. And I still have to have that, hey, I'm hungry and I want to work. You know what I mean? So auditioning certainly lets you know it's not personal. Yep. And you could think you did the greatest thing. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm getting that gig. And then I don't hear anything back. I'm like, oh, that can get you down. But that's where that positivity comes in. Yeah. You know, where you don't take it personally, you let it slide and roll off your back and just say, hey, if that gig, I didn't get it, it wasn't meant for me to have. It is what it is. You have no idea what your client's thinking about when they're choosing you, right? Yeah. There could be a host of things they're thinking about that you'll drive yourself nuts trying to, you know, figure out where their mind is. you just will. So stop comparing, you know, hey, just, it is what it is. Yep. This is what they chose. And that job wasn't meant for me. Keep moving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are you working on for the rest of 2017?
So right now I'm building the Freelance Without Fear courses out. So you can go to freelancewithoutfear.com. You can get the course. It'll help you set rates like we talked about. It'll help you work on your mindset. It'll also help you work on your money mindset, because a lot of us don't have positive money mindsets when we get into a business, and then we wonder why we can't, you know, get money. Wonder why we can't get paid, you know? Yep. It'll help you learn how to get clients and then how to keep them when you get them. It'll help you with invoicing and learning. And there's some examples of different software that you can get if you're trying to figure out how to invoice, what to put on the invoices, what to put on a contract, all that good stuff. So if you're spinning your wheels right now and you just don't know where to start, Freelance Without Fear is made for you. I also have a free audio that's available for people, because I talk about this a lot with my friends, lack of support from where your friends and your family members, you feel like people don't get your life. Yep. You know, this is a different kind of life we live. And people that don't live this life don't get it, you know? No. And so I have a free audio. You can download it, listen to it at your leisure, but it's basically how to get the support you need when growing your freelancing business. So it's free. There's another freebie on there about getting over your networking fears. So those are 2 freebies that are on the site now. Go to freelancewithoutfear.com, and I'd love to help anybody get through this freelancing life, because it's a different life.
Yes, awesome.
But it's a great life. It's a great life.
Yes. Yeah. I'll make sure to link to those in the show notes so everyone can check them out.
Yay!
But awesome. So where can we connect with you, follow you online?
I am on Instagram. I love a lover of Instagram, and I'm on Instagram at Freelance Without Fear and at Havilland Maxwell. So either one, you can catch up with me, send me a message. If you heard something today that you think is going to help you out, I'd love to hear from you. So you can always do that. And you can email me at havilland@freelancewithoutfear.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I had a good time.